Now we are finally ready to dig into MO5 AO301.SSB. The first thing I'm going to do is make a breakpoint here at line 22. Basically, this will make the emulator automatically stop before executing the line that the breakpoint is set at. This is really helpful for trying to isolate certain parts of a script and figure out what's happening. Let me just play. And as you can see, it stopped. So first, we have define 0. You need this at the start of every script. Sound stop. This is in case the previous script or ground didn't already get rid of the sound before calling this script. But as you'll see later on, scripts within an event tend to stop the sound at the end of that script, so sound stop ends up being unnecessary in that case. Back set ground, I will get more into this later, but basically this calls the background that the scene takes place in. Next is supervision acting. As far as I can tell, you always have to have this supervision acting with performer 0 camera set myself in order to get the camera to work. Supervision acting 0, again, going to get more into that later. Don't worry about it right now. Just know that you need it. As for the camera set myself, I haven't messed around with this too much, but it seems like this command unlocks camera functionality in the rest of the script. I've tried to get rid of this, and being able to do anything with the camera seems like it's not possible. So I'm guessing that's what it does. Luckily, as is the case with way more than you would think in SkyTemple, you can just copy and paste this whole sequence into another script, and it works fine without really messing with anything, so long as you do this camera set myself before setting the camera position in that script. Next is BGM play fade in. Something cool here that I noticed is that in the previous public build of SkyTemple that I was using, this just listed the BGM ID as numbers instead of saying rain 2. So definitely cool to see that this stuff is being streamlined as updates come along. Anyways, this command has BGM ID, duration, and again, really cool that it lists this out in SkyTemple. This is also something that they've been updating over time. And volume. I'm guessing the duration is in frames, and volume is most likely a linear scale topping out at 256, since not only was this 256 already present in the vanilla script and it's unchanged, but 256 is also 16 times 16, so it makes sense for that to be the cap. As for BGM ID, you can start typing the command. If I go to there, and there's these really helpful autofill suggestions that you can see that spare you the time of looking up all the possible BGM IDs in the game in a separate window and like looking over on your other monitor, or God forbid you have one monitor, you have to Alt-Tab 25 times, because they're all just right here. It's an amazing feature, and you can do this for any text string with this same color text. In my case, it's yellow since I'm using Cobalt view. Let me bring that back to rain 2. And for that color scheme, view, color scheme, Cobalt. Cobalt's what I'm using. I just like it because there's a lot of color contrast. Use whatever you want, but I might fall into the habit of, of using colors that only make sense under Cobalt. Next we have screen fade in. Takes 30 frames to complete, then wait 90 frames, and then this set of with commands. So even though it says with, it actually waits for the execution of the previous command before starting. So instead of a with being with the execution of a previous line, it's with the ending of a previous line, if that makes sense. However, once a with string is started, these 3 withs all happen at the same time. In addition, not every command can be a with. It seems to be only commands that change the properties of an entity inside the scene. Entity being performer in this instance, actor in this instance. Yeah, first you have performer 0, which, as you may have been able to guess from before, is referring to the camera. It is moving its position from its default, which is at the top of the waterfall, to where you can see it right now at 31.5 on the x-axis and 28 on the y-axis. One thing to keep in mind in Explorers of Sky is that the y-axis starts at the top and goes further down as units increase. Why? I have no idea, but that's just how it is. Meanwhile, the actors, defined as actor player and actor attendant 1, aka the partner, are moving to their spots as well. As for the position M0, M1, M2, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I do know that each position needs to be its own unique variable within that script. So I could change this to M10, M11, M12, and as far as I can tell, it makes no difference. And this 1, no idea what that's for, but you need it or the command won't function. As for why you have to specify the entity actor here and then also have actor player, because it might seem redundant, this is because it is possible to manipulate things other than actors with this command. So let me explain this. Bring up the SkyTemple main page and go to script scenes, and remember from earlier that this script is pulled from scene D04P11A. Now I'm at the script scene editor. Let's see, we're on 301, right? Yeah. But for now, I'm just going to show that while in here, you can add actors, objects, performers, and triggers. So those are all your options to classify the entity that you are selecting within that command. Back to the script. We're finally going to end this first sequence with wait execute lives actor player, which is to say the script will not continue until actor player finishes their with. Finally, after this, we have our first dialog box. It starts with message set face with the actor whose portrait is shown on screen, the face they make, and where the portrait is located on the screen. The face ID comes from inside the main SkyTemple page. From here, going to close that out, go to Pokemon, select one. I'm going to do Bulbasaur just because it's the first one. Let it load and go to portraits. As you can see, ID 0 is your standard face. Every mon has one. However, for this command, pulling up, for example, if I wanted to pull up happy, right, I would not type 2 here instead of 0. I would type 1, and the reason why is because all of these flip versions are actually skipped over in this command. So another way to think about it is just divide whatever this number is by 2, and then you get what you're supposed to put into a command. And as you can see here, there's kind of an explanation for that. Flip versions of the images are unused, ? Because the game flips the portraits itself. Yes, flipping the portraits is actually its own command. Not really going over that over the course of this video, but it is a thing that you can do. So next is message switch talk, partner talk kind. Partner talk kind means that the dialog box will pull up the partner's name as the one saying it. Then we have text for case 1, case 2, and default. Not sure what causes the different cases, but I believe it has to do with what species the partner is. A couple things within each text string. First off, you need this space after the opening quotation, because without it, the game will not put a space after the colon following the partner's name. If it seems like a big oversight, I agree, but you have to do it. The backslash before an apostrophe in that is because apostrophes don't play very nicely inside these little text strings here. So in order to make it work, the backslash needs to be there before any apostrophe that is just showing up as plain text. And then this /n denotes a line break. You do have to manually set the line breaks every time because the game has no built-in text wrapping, which sucks. And you kind of just have to check it every time. There's some things that can help you out that you learn over time as you keep making these text boxes, but you pretty much just need to check it every time. Then there's Coro message close wait function, which pretty much does what it says. Requires the player to close the message box before the script proceeds. Then once it's closed, there is a standardized wait. Basically, just put this at the end of every dialog box, transitioning to something that isn't another dialog box from the same actor, face, and face position. Now, I'm going to make another breakpoint at line 77 to talk about this next part. For new commands, we have SE play, and again, I have sound off, so sorry about that, but it makes this video much easier to make. So sorry about that again. This calls a sound effect ID, though there is not a lookup built into SkyTemple as of now for SE play. The SkyTemple Discord has a table of all of the SE play IDs that you can use. The screen then whites out for 3 frames, waits 2, then fades back in for 3. Attendant 1 has an effect set around them, then starts an animation, then slides back from the waterfall to their original position. Slide position mark is different from move position mark because they aren't walking when they go from the waterfall back to here. They're moving like the sprite is moving, right? The character sprite is moving, but they're not pulling the walking animation, and they're still facing the same way as they're sliding back. Not sure what this first number is, but once again, you have to have it. You can just copy it. It's not a big deal. At the same time, the player has this shocked effect set and turns to direction _ left. Again, I don't know what these numbers are for. After this, it's a lot of repeating commands we already know up until about line 353. So that is our next break. Let's see, there it is, 353. Hit play. Okay, so I just realized that I probably should touch on this message switch monologue around line 143 here. This is the text command for when the player is talking. You still need to set your face like before, and again, set to actor player this time. And this time there's case 4 in default. Again, not sure on the difference, most likely has to do with these species. But what's nice is that you don't need to add a space at the start of a text for a monologue, since there's no player name and the colon after the player name inside the dialog box during a switch monologue. In addition, this K here denotes a spot where the text stops scrolling and you need to confirm, so press the touch screen or press A and B to continue on and play out the rest of the text box. Also, notice that in between these, there is no Coro close wait function or set face between dialog boxes because it's not necessary. Nothing is changing between both text boxes, right? It's the same actor player, same face position. So you can just go straight into the next switch monologue, and you don't have to input those other two before. Now for that next breakpoint. Okay. First off, this text box, this last text box, hero. This pulls the text string for the player name. There are two other similar dialog pulls that I know of, which are partner for the partner name and team with a colon for the team name, both of which are used again later on in this event in a later script. Then we have message close, which is just Coro close wait function, but without the wait. Then we have, let's see, BGM fade out and screen fade out. Just like they both had fade ins, they also have fade outs. Then a wait. This is just when the screen went black. Do the little loading screen fake out type deal. Then, while the screen is faded out, the whole beginning of the script is basically repeated. The BGM play fade in again. Except these direction ups are added for actor player and actor attendant 1. This is necessary because set position mark changes the location of the actor without them actually moving, like physically moving, walking. Since the actor's last movement was walking downward to the bottom of the screen, they would still be facing down after a set position mark, hence the turn to direction up to fix that. And with a scroll down through the rest, we can see that is pretty much it. Another BGM fade out, screen fade out, and then end, which returns the game to union.ssb, which, as we know, is going to redirect us to mo5do314.ssb.